This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
It's like a Sharknado, except with poop.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Big, massive dumps.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Monday. Hope y'all had a great weekend, especially the radical left, the rhinos and the losers of the world. Hopefully you had a good Father's Day to all. Great message from our ex-president. Inspirational. I feel inspired. Truly. As a member of the radical left, I'm inspired. As a loser of the world. Hello, everybody. Hopefully you all had a good weekend and a good Father's Day. Especially if you're one of the losers and haters. Love it. All right, we got news. We got fun stories. We got Jim Acosta taking on Tucker Carlson. Ooh, an interesting story about Tucker just dropped as well. Turns out, he's got a little of an issue with the, what is that word now? For some reason, gossip. There you go. He loves to gossip. It's very gossipy, fun stuff. We're gonna talk about that. We got Donald Trump admitting, yeah, it turns out, no, I didn't win. I didn't win the election. Fun times. We got Trump lawyers kind of mad. They're not getting hired. Fun stuff. We got My Pillow guy, of course. Got Matt Gaetz. And then we're going to dunk on Meghan McCain. Fun times. It's going to be a good show. It's Monday. Let's dive in. CNN reporter Jim Acosta had some not so nice words for his colleague over at Fox News, Tucker Carlson. Take a look.
You recall I recently described Fox News as the bullshit factory in honor of its steady stream of bogus segments aimed at ginning up viewer outrage. But Tucker has really outdone himself this week. So I've decided to award Tucker with the distinction of Bullshit Factory Employee of the Month. Congrats, Tucker. You did it. Nobody bullshits like you when it comes to the insurrection. Nobody does it as good as you.
but he does it better. Okay. I love it. Fun times. So he's right, though. Of course, Fox News is a bullshit factory. But here's the thing. It's not just that. It actually is worse. It's not just bullshit. It's conspiracy theories. Tucker Carlson, Fox News, pulled with dog whistles, white nationalism, coupled with some fake populism. And that's used, of course, to advance a dangerous agenda. The entire fact that Tucker Carlson is considered to be a populist is insane. That's not populism, okay? It's demagoguery. But unfortunately, he's fooled a lot of people. And understand, though, that Tucker Carlson is establishment. Not only is he a super wealthy heir on a top-rated so-called news show, which isn't really news. In fact, he himself has admitted we don't actually do news, and people don't actually, really believe the things that I say. It's the classic Alex Jones defense. People don't actually believe the stuff that I say, right? What are you talking about? That would be crazy. But he's also, turns out, to be a key source for top political journalists in Washington, D.C. Because it turns out Tucker's a little bit of a gossip, as well as a hypocrite. Yes. Now, there was a column in the New York Times by Ben Smith, and he wrote that Carlson's relationship with several members of the Washington Press Corps revealed. This was revealed by the New York Times, Ben Smith, that Carlson has texted with and spoken to Smith on and off the record on several occasions, as of other national journalists covering politics and media. Citing more than a dozen working journalists, some of them identified and others anonymous, Smith called Carlson's relationship with members of the media, whom he criticizes often on his nightly program, one of Washington's open secrets. So, yeah. I can't believe the Washington elite corporate media that I am always talking to. And that I have a buddy-buddy relationship that I text all the time and give them juicy secrets. Sometimes about Donald Trump. Sometimes about me. And so I'll just give them this stuff and they run with it. Because we're all part of the cocktail circuit. Doesn't matter how much I openly go after you, media. I'm one of you. And I make tons of money doing it. Because of course. Mr. Carlson, by the way, this is what Smith wrote. Mr. Carlson, a proud traitor to the elite political class, laugh along with me, spends his time when he's not denouncing the liberal media trading gossip with them. He's the go-to guy for sometimes unflattering stories about Donald Trump, as I mentioned, and for coverage of the internal politics of Fox News, not to mention stories about Carlson himself. Carlson, who hosts the highest-rated primetime cable news show in the country, has positioned himself as a Washington insider. Oh no, not our beloved Tucker Carlson! Particularly in the age of former President Trump. His Fox platform, where in May he had a nightly average of 3 million viewers, made him someone who mattered to Mr. Trump, close follower of television ratings. He has a former reporter's eyes for detail and anecdote, and his observations can be detected in the lurid tales of Mr. Trump's chaotic court and Fox's own tumultuous internal politics. Maxwell Tani, immediate reporter at the Daily Beast, told Smith top brass at Fox News is aware of Carlson's relationships in the media. Quote, whenever there's a positive story about Tucker, some Fox executives assume he's had a hand in it. Smith also wrote that Carlson has shown an ability to definitely influence media coverage of him, his program, and his commentary. Shocker. It turns out Tucker Carlson loves the elite media because he's part of the elite media. Weird. It's almost as if he's also an enormous hypocrite and a grifter. I know, very strange. Now, the thing is, he's enormously good at this. He's incredibly talented. He has both, by the way, the right wing and members of even the left falling for his grift. I know. And look, the response from many of them is establishment hit piece. Of course. Of course. Is it, though? I actually think that this is incredibly complimentary to him. it really shows the skill that he has and the connections that he has to make his show incredibly popular among conservatives, especially. He has smartly capitalized on hatred towards the elite media while being a part of it and the establishment. And again, he benefits from both of those things. 3 million nightly viewers on a dying medium such as television, that is nothing to sneeze at. He's really good at this. Now, understand that I would actually have no problem with Tucker Carlson, using his platform and whatever, and gossiping with other journalists, etc. Even though I don't consider him a journalist, but the thing is that he is instead of using his reach to fight for things like workers, and then claiming again to be anti-establishment and claiming to be against the elitists and the corporations, but he doesn't use his platform to promote that stuff. He doesn't use his platform to promote higher wages for American workers. Instead, he says, ban all the immigrants. Let's get rid of all the immigrants. That's the real problem. Or healthcare. He thinks woke corporations are the problem. Not only that, but again, he doesn't fight for shorter work weeks. Anything that would benefit the working class. No, he doesn't. He just, again, demagogues and punches down at, again, some of the weakest people in the country, again, immigrants, and spreads harmful, as, what Acosta says, bullshit. Now, that said, going back to Acosta, we all know Acosta is also establishment. Yes, CNN is establishment media, breaking news, right? But the thing is that, this criticism of Tucker Carlson is likely, no doubt, has to do with more like the monster ratings that Fox News and Tucker Carlson get, other than the pursuit of the truth. Again, CNN always has an establishment bias, is always going to report in favor of the establishment. But that doesn't mean Acosta isn't correct in pointing out the reality of Tucker Carlson, nor is Ben Smith. That said, Tucker's going to respond to this in his kind of, oh, shucks kind of way. In fact, he says, quote, I don't know any gossip. I live in a town of just 100 people. Meaning, how does that disprove anything in this report? But again, this is what he does. He makes you think that he is just like him. It's one of the biggest and most successful cons that you can pull. Tucker Carlson did it. Trump did it. And so many other politicians and media figures have done it too. George W. Bush, remember, he's the president I can have a beer with. And you would think that after all the disasters of supporting these types of politicians and giving them a platform and a chance to make policy, that we would learn our goddamn lessons. But no, it turns out that propaganda is incredibly strong and so very pervasive. And Carlson and people like him are masters at spreading it. Okay. Yeah, if only there were such ways to communicate with people outside of a town. I know. Things like the internets. The Internet of Things and stuff, perhaps. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with the issue with Facebook moderation. I'm sorry, not Facebook, but YouTube moderation later on. But we'll talk about that later. But we'll definitely be getting another mod as well. Don't worry. We got this. All right. Let's move on. QAnon supporters are getting confused, as well as angry, after Donald Trump basically has done a couple of things to admit that he not only lost the election in 2020, of course, but that he's not really planning on coming back. So now, first off, this is what Trump had told Fox News host Sean Hannity last week.
We got them by surprise in 16, and in 20 we did much better than we did in 16. And shockingly, we were supposed to win easily at 64 million votes, and we got 75 million votes, and we didn't win. But let's see what happens on that.
What happens? Oh, right, nothing. Nothing's going to happen on that. Now, following that admission, according to a report from Newsweek, Trump's announcement that he will be touring with disgraced former Fox News personality Bill O'Reilly in December was not welcomed by QAnon. The tour, which will include stops in Sunrise, Florida, then Orlando before moving on to Houston, ending in Dallas on December 19th, carries a ticket price of $100. Yes, I know. Yeah, people actually are paying to see Donald Trump. Ugh. And Trump announcing, my tour of Bill O'Reilly is getting a lot of attention, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe tickets would make a great Father's Day gift. Yes, to the radical left, rhinos, and losers of the world, perhaps. Okay, anyway. In any event, I'll see you then, and much sooner. What is he going to do? Is Bill O'Reilly going to come to your house? Is that what's going to happen? He's coming to your house. He's coming to your house. Or not. No, okay. So that announcement set up a flurry of very confused and angry comments on Telegram. As one user identified as Peace Lily wrote, okay, I guess my question is, Trump coming back? Why would he be doing a tour through the end of the year with O'Reilly? Something doesn't feel right. Yes. So nothing will happen to December? Wrote another, with a third adding, man, I sure hope we don't have to wait that long before you're back in office. Y'all, I got news for you. That is, it's not going to happen. Once again. Another person says, it's only a few days close together, and it could be done if it works out like it should cancel, but yep, kind of a gut punch statement. But we are in an information war. Ah, yes, an information, it looked like perhaps an info war. So who the hell knows? Wrote another with Trump supporter Angela Baldwin writing in. So basically the August thing is a bunch of bull because reinstated president doesn't go on tour. Well, yeah, you know what, to be fair, that's kind of what Donald Trump did when he was president is go on tour. Basically, he did rallies. That is, of course, until the pandemic. And then, that really slowed that down. But yeah, look, overall, he ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. And what a lot of people, QAnon members, are hinging this conspiracy on is the Arizona audit. So they think that the Arizona audit is going to turn up all sorts of massive voter fraud, and then that's going to lead to other states doing their own audits, and then it's going to basically, be like a domino effect where, oh, this state's going to find the fraud, then that state's going to find the fraud, this is going to find the fraud. Well, there's only one problem with that. There's no fraud to find. At least not massive voter fraud. You might find one or two, maybe a handful of people that incorrectly filled out their ballots. Some even voted, as we've seen in some certain cases. You've had Trump supporters that will write people in, their dead relatives, things like that. And that is actual voter fraud. But as far as widespread fraud, it doesn't actually exist. It's not happening. And by the way, the Arizona audit is a disaster. It's a joke headlined by a bunch of clowns. It's not going to find anything. The hopium has run out. You are out of fumes. At one point, do you just give up and move on? Honestly, I think Trump's pretty close to doing so. I mean, really, the only time he'll really give up is when the donations and the news coverage dry up, or die out, because that is how he operates. It's essentially about money and ego and attention. Unfortunately, there's only so much reality that people can deny for so long. It's going to run out, and when it does, we're never going to hear from this guy again. Yeah, no more hopium. Oh no. Okay. Anyway. One more before we take the break. The revolving door of politics is currently one of the sad facts of life in politics. The logic is, of course, oh, if you serve in government, you do your time in government, you serve out your term, and when you're done, you get a nice cushy job working for your donors. All right, well, yeah, that seems to, again, that's a sucky, that's a terrible system. We should absolutely get rid of all lobbyists and put a gigantic lobbying ban on anybody who served in government and things like that. But again, that revolving door is a disaster. Now, that said, job offers seem to not be happening to some of the most controversial Trump hires. People like our friend who tried to ban oral sex. Yes, Ken Cuccinelli. He tried to ban oral sex in Virginia. Way back in 2013. Okay. So now Ken Cuccinelli, who did the number 2 job at the Homeland Security Department under Trump, was looking at a corporate opportunity after he left the administration when the work was suddenly pulled. Oh, sad. Oh, I feel bad for you, man. Actually, no, I don't. They decided, Cuccinelli said, that they didn't want Trump people. It was just flat out. You can call it Trump discrimination. Okay. All right. So now is that a thing? Is Trump discrimination? Well, for some of the more controversial people, yes. Now, for many of the other lawyers that actually served in the Trump administration, actually more than 80% of them got jobs immediately after leaving office. Now, some of those jobs, they're complaining, are only part-time or they weren't our first choice, according to an analysis by Bloomberg Law. Okay, but still, 80%, that's pretty good. 80% of Trump lawyers got jobs. So I don't know if it's Trump discrimination, although he could make a case of being one of the more controversial Trump hires, and not getting an offer as a result of that. And, just something that helps with that case is the fact that several companies had, as well as law firms, distanced themselves from Trump after the January 6th riots. Corporate law firm Crowell & Moring called for Trump's removal from office and urged others to make the same demand. Law firms Morgan Lewis and Bacchius and Seyfarth Shaw dropped Trump and his business's clients. So there's a couple of examples. Cuccinelli later added, I don't think anyone coming out of the George W. Bush administration was told, we can't hire this person. Well, again, that's a good point. A lot of people from the Bush administration had gotten hired, and the Bush administration was an absolute disaster. What are you going to do? But he added, I'm sure January 6th made that much worse than it ever would have been. Well, I mean, it was only a little tiny insurrection, right? Please give us that corporate job. We didn't mean it. Now, the fact that he seems to understand while also not understanding at the same time is kind of indicative of like this brain rot that they have. But anyway, there's more. Attorney General William Barr, Jeffrey Rosen, who ran the Justice Department in an acting capacity after Barr left, Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, and White House counsel Pat Cipollone are among those who have yet to resurface with full-time jobs. Again, get your tiniest violin out for these people. According to Jeffrey Lowe, managing partner of recruiter Major Lindsay in Africa's Washington office, said this was about the lack of hiring for these people. Quote, when many of these people came to Washington, it was with Trump's intention to drain the swamp and bring in Washington insiders. It really shouldn't be surprising that many of them might not translate well into the typical Washington position. Again, sure, I get that, but there's a lie behind that. Because, again, Donald Trump talked about draining the swamp. In reality, he drained the swamp into his pocket. He is a swamp, funneled millions of dollars to himself, and then hired people who also funneled millions of dollars to themselves. So I'm just saying, a lot of his administration was deeply corrupt because he was deeply corrupt. The fish rots from the head down, right? So now, again, normally when it comes to corruption in other administrations, because it does exist, generally people didn't care about that. That is, again, until Donald Trump encouraged an insurrection, as well as being openly horrible. That's not to say that other presidents weren't horrible with their policies. They are. I just look at Obama with the drones. And I know people get sensitive when you talk about that, and drones and CIA black sites and torture. And so those are facts. Those are things that have happened that are terrible. But it didn't prevent anyone who worked in the Obama administration from getting good corporate jobs. And so what's different in the Trump administration is that his horribleness was open and on display. And that really is the problem. See, it turns out that if you have the Trump stink on you, that stench, you are unhireable. And it's not because, we're left-wing, deep state. No, what it is like, I don't want that person working for me because it looks bad. I want to make money. I want to get clients. And I don't want these idiots or these people that have been tainted to work for us right now. There's not really a big demand here. And that, again, is the difference. Again, Donald Trump went full mask off, and certain people around him, just as we predicted, they went down with him. They're paying the price. And so now, however, you have people like Reed Rubenstein, who have a different theory. Now, Rubenstein had been acting general counsel authority under Trump at the Education Department. He says, this is a result of the extent to which big law has been captured by the political left. Ah, yes, big law. What is with calling everything that you don't like big? What is that trend? I don't understand. Big pharma, big law. Like, what are you, the big tech? What are you talking about? Oh, if you have an issue with monopolization, well, we can have a conversation about that. I'm all about breaking up monopolies. In fact, we should be able to do that. And we should do that. And we have the ability, presidents and the Congress actually have the ability to break up these monopolies. They choose not to. I wonder why. Big Waldorf. There you go. Wait. That means you all hate me. That's not good. Not good. All right. Anyway, as I said, he added, this is Rubenstein, to protect the middle and working class, we directly challenge the control, legitimacy, and power of the credentialed managerial class and their corporate institutions. So it's not a surprise to me that they are hostile to Trump administration alumni. Managerial class, guys. You realize a lot of people that he hired were not actually even fit for their positions, right? Had almost no experience. You're kidding. And of course, they still ended up getting prime positions and good jobs. And again, 80% of the Trump lawyers ended up getting good jobs. So what are you talking about? Bitch, please. Massive tax cuts, deregulation out the ass. Policy-wise, the Trump administration was actually incredibly pro-corporate and incredibly again, they massively helped corporations make more money. So they're very, very pro-corporate. And this is all while Donald Trump essentially played a heel. A bad guy, basically. Because, look, Donald Trump comes from, like, the pro wrestling, I guess, school of politics. And literally was on pro wrestling. And a heel is basically you play the bad guy. You play the bad guy in order to set up a better guy. I mean, generally that's how it goes. It's except that there really was no better guy. I mean, okay, some. There are some better guys, I guess. One of them being, of course, Bernie Sanders. But anyway, that said, corporations benefited greatly from Trump's policy changes. And yet, at the same time, because it was the heel, they were able to claim to be on the moral high ground from publicly calling out Trump. So that's where the woke corporations come from. And really, it's classic playing both sides in order to make a profit. Corporations don't have any morality. Their entire business model is based on making money. I mean, their entire existence is to make money. They have no morality. They've got nothing. They're not human. Corporations are not people, my friend. So, but again, if you want to understand why companies do anything, all you got to do is follow the money. And right now, when it comes to it, these people from the Trump administration are either too inexperienced or too toxic for these companies to hire. Simple as that. Sad. All right. I'm going to take a break. And we will go to My Pillow Guy, as well as Matt Gaetz, and then going to dunk on Meghan McCain. Fun times. We'll see you after the break on The Nation.
There's insanity in the control room. Who's got a hammer?
Hey, everybody, welcome back. So I've got some super chats that I want to read here. Let's see. Sarchek, please select another mod. Today's my last day. Well, I'm sorry to lose you, Sarchek. That's a bummer. But you know, I hope for the best for you in the future. And you know, hey, we're gonna be open to, I guess, getting another mod for our YouTube channel. So gonna have to look to see who can do the job. All right, so Eva Mira asks, is Ken Cuccinelli a member of the DC Board of Directors, and does he have opinions on Batman? Apparently, he is very anti Batman or anti Catwoman. Apparently, he's one of the people. Heroes don't do that. Heroes don't do that. All right, well, that's like your opinion, man. I guess. I love it. I can't believe this guy ran on a no oral sex platform. Are you fucking kidding me? What is wrong with you? Gabby Mathis says, what have we done to Sarge Tech to leave us? I don't know. But I do really appreciate Sarge staying around to mod for as long as you did. So we love you and we appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing that. Biden opposes owner warmongering administration advisors. Say nothing about the Dems or GOP warmongers and media to meet with Putin and not send lethal weapons to Ukraine. All right. Let's see. A couple of comments here. Wow, the chat's kind of blown up today. Cult trolls are still trying to spread the same propaganda they were spreading pre-pandemic. It's not falling flat because we all had time to watch the real news and see that Trump's a phony. True. I don't think Trump will make it to, I don't think 45 will make it to 2024, and I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah. No, I'm totally good with that. That's awesome. So there you go. Look at a couple more here. Yeah, definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. I'm not gonna wade into any of the drama going on. So like, I'm not a drama streamer or a drama show, so I'm just gonna avoid that whole thing. Everybody's gonna do what they're gonna do. So that's really it. All right, so let's move on. Go to the My Pillow guy. Apparently, the hits keep coming for the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. According to a recent report, the Daily Beast, Lindell recently tried and failed to sell masks to his audience. He was making masks. First, he was trying to give them away, and then he couldn't even give them away. But I'm giving away the lead here. All right, so I'm burying the lead. Now, back in March of last year, then President Trump held one of his famous or infamous Rose Garden press conferences. In it, he announced, of course, that Mike Lindell would be mass producing MyPillow masks for charity, I guess. So the whole thing is, we're going to make all these masks, and then we're going to send them to, frontline workers, people that need them. Now, unfortunately, that turns out that didn't actually happen, and there was no mass donation of masks. That said, he did make them. He made the masks, but they never really went anywhere because apparently he had some problems. According to the publication, Lindell is basically sitting on millions of unused masks, which comes at a cost of $7 million of personal losses. These are masks that he says that he can't give them away. He can't give away. And that he wishes he could, quote, burn them all. Burn them all. Weird. It's almost as if making masks for people who don't believe in wearing masks wouldn't turn out. I know. It's real strange. Very strange. It's almost nobody could see this happen. Why is it that, that like people think conservatives are better at running businesses? Really, your political leanings actually don't even matter when it comes to running a business. What matters is how well you run the business. That said, political positions can be important. For example, if you offer your employees a higher wage, a living wage, then you're actually going to get better, happier employees. But generally, your own political personal leanings don't really matter as much, especially when it comes to bigger companies. And so, then again, I don't really know how big My Pillow actually is. But apparently, not doing too well. Not doing too well. But anyway, the story goes that this was a failed charity effort that Lindell then turned into a failed business venture, which then he, after the failures, turned back into a charity. How bad is this? It turns out he actually retrofitted about 75% of his pillow machines into mask sewing units. Now, apparently, he did not do a very good job with these and ended up getting caught into a lot of commercial and regulatory roadblocks. So apparently you have to, unlike pillows, you actually have to have some standards here. You need to have standards in how the masks are produced and what they can actually do. And so the FDA took a look at what he was making and was not impressed. And eventually, the market flooded with masks that were superior to the MyPillow mask. And so, as a result, Lindell first lagged behind and then ended up buying masks from other sources instead of making them and then donating them at a cost of $4 million. He then tried something a little different. He began selling them to the public and promoting the items online and in media appearances. And while Lindell vowed he was not trying to make a profit and only sold masks at or below the $1.50 cost for production, that's only the most recent discounted rate. The MyPillow website actually once priced him as much as 3 times that rate. And at a June 2020 radio interview, Lindell marked them up to $4 each. Again, it didn't work because, well, by fall, he had given up and then was surrounded by the fruits of his failure. Salty. He's so incredibly salty, by the way. Here's what he said about the masks. Quote, "Anyone can have them now. I don't care." Sad. Baby. Disaster. All right. Moving on. Go to Matt Gaetz. It appears that Matt Gaetz could see charges brought against him by federal prosecutors in July, by next month. So this is according to a recent report here by ABC News. Now, the Florida congressman has been under investigation for months amidst a sex scandal. This is a sex trafficking probe involving a former friend, Joel Greenberg. Greenberg, of course, is a former Seminole County tax collector, and he had pleaded guilty in May to charges of stalking, identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy to bribe a public official, as well as sex trafficking. Now, he is working with prosecutors. He is actually prepared to hand over evidence that could allegedly implicate Mr. Gaetz and others. Fascinating. Interesting. I wonder who the others could be. Now, sources said the investigation into Mr. Gaetz has picked up speed, with agents interviewing more women who were allegedly introduced to the lawmaker by Greenberg for sex. Now, again, I actually I think prostitution should be legal, in my personal opinion. but it's not. And so that's the way the law is right now. And he broke the law. That means he's going to get in trouble for it. Now, the thing that shouldn't be excused, that I do not support, is trafficking. And that's one of the big charges. So one person a child that he had trafficked was at the time 17 years old. So that's the alleged that's where the allegations of trafficking come into play. So he had played sugar daddy allegedly for the 17-year-old, paying bills and then taking her on trips. And of course, those trips involved going from Florida to other places where turns out the age of consent is lower. And so he could there have sex with these girls. And so that is sex trafficking. That is against the law, no matter what. So other allegations include using drugs and campaign cash in transactions with sex workers or prostitutes. Family values, y'all. Family values. In his guilty plea, Greenberg, a married father of two, admitted to spending more than $700,000 in 105 transactions to pay women for sex between 2016 and 2018. He acknowledged in court filings that one of those women was under 18 for part of the time. Big investigation into Matt Gaetz. Here it comes. If this is to be believed, well, then Matt Gaetz is going to have a real bad time. Not that he's doing great, mind you. On Thursday, Business Insider reported that Gaetz is no longer welcome at Fox News. In March, according to Robin Brevender and Tom LoBianco, Gaetz appeared on Fox at least 19 times, including those the congressman posted to his YouTube channel. In April, May, and so far in June, he hasn't appeared on Fox News. In fact, former Gaetz staffer spoke to Insider anonymously, said not once Gaetz has been excommunicated within the Fox News circles. So it's I'm sorry. Here's what the report said. It's not worth it for the conservative network to risk putting Gaetz on its airwaves while the high-profile sex trafficking investigation is playing out, according to Republican insiders and media watchdogs. Gaetz hurt his relationship with Tucker Carlson during the infamous March 30 interview. Sources told Insider during that interview, Gaetz noted that Carlson was also falsely accused of a terrible sex act, leading to an exchange Carlson said on air was one of the weirdest interviews I have ever conducted. Let me show you some of that, by the way, in case you don't remember how cringe this interview actually was.
I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. Of course, it was not true. I'd never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen.
I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly.
I don't remember. I don't remember. No, I don't remember what you're talking about. I have no idea. No. Painful. That entire thing, painful. No wonder he hasn't been invited back. He is right now so toxic, Tucker Carlson. And Newsmax won't touch him. Newsmax. Now, remember, he had talked about leaving his office early, stepping down, in order to get a job at Newsmax, which didn't actually even exist. Couldn't have happened to a nicer asshole. Wow. Whew. Okay. one more for y'all. Let's go to the Meghan McCain.
If you are a devout Catholic.
All right. Well, there's insanity in the control room. Recently, Meghan McCain went after President Joe Biden over his Catholic faith. Take a look.
If you are a devout Catholic, as President Biden claims to be, abortion is a cardinal sin that can do deep spiritual harm to you. And President Biden had been supportive of the Hyde Amendment up until 2019 when he decided to run for president. And the Hyde Amendment means that the government would provide federal funding for abortion or wouldn't. And now he is for it. And he has shown in this upcoming budget that he is for it. And I think that sort of has been the threshold. I remember when it happened, having a conversation with a friend of mine who was close to him saying, for me, this is a deep paradigm shift for how I view President Biden, because if he's for the federal funding of abortion, and I know the women on this show disagree with me, but as far as I'm concerned, abortion is murder, and that means the government funding of killing of the unborn, and we have to, as pro-lifers, fight for the rights of the unborn, and that is a doctrine that's as old as the Catholic Church itself. So he has to choose, if his official stance, by the way, is he's politically opposed or personally opposed to abortion, but doesn't feel that he had the right to impose this view on the rest of the country. And it just, for someone who claims to be pro-life, I never understand this argument. It's like saying, I'm personally opposed to murder, but if you want to murder a little bit, it's fine because it's not my problem. It doesn't register with me. I don't get it. So it's ultimately up to the church, but he's walking a very fine line here. And ultimately, all of these issues are literally life and death for Catholics, for devout Christians, and he's going to have to ultimately talk to his creator when the time comes, as we all do, and reconcile his politics with his personal faith. And I believe that he's doing grave spiritual harm to himself and harm to this country.
Hey, he's going to have to reconcile. No, he doesn't. And if it, I don't care. I don't care. You know what? I'm glad that I live in the United States of America, where we are not governed by the religion of Meghan McCain. Because that's where we live. And in fact, that would be downright un-American if her religion applied to everybody. Again, Congress shall make no law respecting religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Meaning that Meghan McCain can go and be pro-life if she wants. So can Joe Biden. But when it comes to public policy, you have to make good public policy, which is allowing people to make the choice. Again, if you're against abortion, don't get one. Don't get one. But you shouldn't be able to stop somebody else from getting one. That's what these authoritarian fundamentalists like Meghan McCain don't understand. We don't believe in your religion. You can take your book and shove it up your ass. By the way, so you're saying you have a problem with federally funding abortion, and she makes that argument, right? All right. Well, what's your stance on the death penalty? That's federally funding very, very late term abortions. You're against murder, but you're okay with the death penalty? That's weird. That's weird. And by the way, unlike abortion, thou shalt not kill is actually in the Bible. Actually, you know what? There is a mention of abortion in the Bible, but it's in the Old Testament. In fact, it's in the book of Numbers, where, if there's a woman that's suspected of adultery, she would undergo the ordeal of the bitter water, which when administered would result in an abortion of the fetus in many interpretations. So nowhere else in the Bible is abortion explicitly mentioned. And even if it was, it wouldn't matter because we are not a fundamentalist country. You want that? Go to South Africa. There are countries in Southern Africa that have fundamentalist Christian governments that are not good with homosexuality, the LGBTQ rights, or abortion. So you can go live there, and then you can take part in that, that government, that country that fits your Christianity. Now, one more thing here, a big surprise. She's actually wrong about the government funding abortions. Okay? We don't. I actually think we should. I'd rather see more money first, of course, put into comprehensive sex education, as well as access to free birth control. You could also reduce abortion, if you're against it, by improving the material conditions in this country. Again, the people who, need abortions the most or get the most abortions the most are people who generally cannot afford to raise a child, make the material conditions better, and they might make the choice to have more children. Or not, it still isn't our issue. It still isn't our concern what they do. But again, if you want to encourage families, then offer free childcare, higher wages, healthcare, Medicare for all, reduce the amount of debt required for education by offering free college and debt cancellation. That would encourage more families. But that's not the direction that Meghan McCain would go in. And although she did speak out, I believe, in favor of childcare, even so, with all of that stuff in place, we still need to have abortion be allowed and safe and legal. Okay? And so I'm just saying, following this, McCain got pounded on Twitter. Here's a couple of them. This is coming from conservatives. Joe Walsh, one of the most conservative members of the so-called resistance, right? He says, I'm pro-life, but where does Meghan McCain get off imposing her faith on another human being's faith? Okay, I agree. Who is she to say that Joe Biden must say to his creator? None of us know the truth, so all of us should be humble enough to allow each of us to profess our own personal faith. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's your personal faith. That's yours. Between you and whatever deity you believe in. A flying spaghetti monster, doesn't matter. It's not the issue of the state. The state should not be involved in religion. And that's it. End of story. That's what the Constitution is for. To guarantee that we don't have one religion that rules over everyone else, but that everyone can be able to practice their religion freely without hurting other people. And again, that's the whole point. Another person says, God forbid people have personal qualms with the tenets of their faith, as if every Jewish person completely agrees with every facet of our faith. And again, that applies to every single faith. Another person says, Meghan McCain accusing pro-choice advocates of being murderers while clinging to her AR-15. Well, to be fair, Meghan McCain's never murdered anybody, but still. And finally, Princess Meghan McCain, with all her family's wealth, need to mind her own damn business. She cannot tell a woman raising children while living off slave wages what's in her best interest as it relates to her reproductive choice. And again, that kind of goes back to why I'm totally fine with federal funding of abortion. If we had federal funding of abortion, that's not going to make the numbers of abortions skyrocket. What it's going to do is it's going to allow people in minority communities especially be able to, and I'm saying minority communities mainly because what you have is more poverty in those areas. If you allow these women to have reproductive choice and freedom to be able to choose to have children when they want to, that's going to help women in those areas. Every place that access to safe legal abortion, as well as contraception and comprehensive sex education, every place that is introduced to ends up having better outcomes for women and society overall. It turns out when you raise up women everywhere, society does better as a whole. Who would have known? And that main tenet is allowing women to have choices over their own body. Meghan McCain needs to shut the fuck up. And if she did, well, the world would be a better place. All right. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Sarge Tech. I really appreciate that. I wish you success as well. Hopefully you'll come around and still watch. I do appreciate that. When you know, I'd like to see you in here, but I understand if you can't. But yeah. Thank you again for the kind words and the support, you know, throughout this time. You're awesome. I do appreciate you. Madi Darno says, came for the soundboard, stayed for the independent commentary. Well, I'm glad you stayed. Appreciate that. And thank you for all the for the new follows as well. Tabsev on Twitch says, she's entitled. Equality feels like oppression when all you know is privilege. True. S. Bloom 85 says, religion is dangerous and has caused the most death in human history. Run Ronaldo Run says, humanity is not reliable. True. Back over here to YouTube. Realistically, all white people should shut the fuck up and let minority voices be heard. Yeah, I mean, we should definitely listen to minority voices and allow them to have choices. You know what? No, not allow them. Just give them the ability to make choices without lording over them, without infantilizing people. Just let people make their own choices about whether or not they want to have kids or not, or families, and give people the tools to be able to be successful, and instead of holding people back. And that's the problem. We're holding people back, especially with institutional, you know, racism, and you have the systems of oppression that are built in, that even if nobody is you know, actively trying to use, those systems are still there and need to get torn down. I'm just saying. Okay, anyway. We joined the space race because women were doing better in the USSR than the US. I mean, the US gave them the opportunity to thrive because we didn't like that communism was working. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. All right. Telling an entire race to shut the fuck up is not the best way to end racism. But listening is. Listening to the experiences, which is what I'm trying to say. You need to listen to the experience, and sometimes listening involves not talking and not talking over people. And that's really the kind of the whole point. And I think that's what that person is trying to get to. Trying to make that point is we should listen. We should listen to people, listen to their experiences, and actually try, like, because there is an issue in left spaces where people that look like me take the lead over people who should be, you know, leading voices for their communities. And it's like this weird kind of white knighting that happens. But when you do that, you end up silencing the very voices that you want to prop up. You know, and so that's like my problem with that. That's why the voices, I'm letting them take the lead. And encouraging them to take the lead and giving people a platform. All right, anyway. I no matter what, I'm going to get canceled for that. Because of the very clumsy way that I tend to put things. But Crazy Hawaiian PA, thank you for the gifting the tier 1 sub. And Northern Ice Dragon, thank you for subscribing with Prime. 5 months. 5 months of Prime. It's awesome. Awesome. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe. Like the stream. Really, really appreciate it if you do. We will see you all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here, Waldorf Nation. We will see you all later, and you have a great, great night. Trump CFO gets immunity deal. Look, I'll check that out. Maybe talk about that tomorrow. Ooh, immunity deal means you got the goods. Maybe got the goods. You have piqued my interest, Mean Beans. We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right. Love you all. Have a good night.
Who's got a hammer?
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Wait. Oh, you're getting nervous, man.
I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Amazing.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.